Your body has these reserve cells, and the understanding of these reserve cells is that they will repair or replace anything that your intention is focused on. That it has now been established that a minimum of 1/3 and more likely 2/3 of all medical healing, which includes surgery and drugs and everything else, is all accomplished through what is called the placebo effect. When he fabricated a placebo operation, what he would do is he'd make the 2 incisions. The patient, of course, couldn't see their knee. There was a draping over it. And what he would do was put on the video screen a surgery that he had done earlier in videotape from somebody else. And so what he would do is the patient would get the incisions, they'd watch the surgery, and he would talk through the surgery like, overdubbing, saying, oh yeah, everything's going great, Mr. X, and Mr. X is watching the screen and all that. So that was the placebo surgery. Didn't do anything, made 2 incisions, sewed it back up. They looked at the results, and the results were every process was equally the same. Whether they rinsed it out, whether they scraped it and rinsed it out, or whether they just did the incisions and nothing at all. He had to own, and it was like really difficult, he had to say that all I'm doing is creating a very elaborate and very expensive placebo. And the mind did the healing. There's something called the nocebo effect. And the nocebo effect is essentially the same as a placebo effect, but it's based on something different. It says a negative belief can hurt you, if not kill you, as much as a positive belief can heal you. And so the real serious issue is that it's really the power of belief. Positive or negative are equally powerful, but go in opposite directions. Right. The function of the mind is to create coherence between your beliefs and the reality that you experience. So if you have a belief in your mind that you can't do something, or that you are, susceptible to something, and that's your belief, then the mind's function is to create coherence so that you will manifest that belief to be true. It's up to us. We can change the fear. You consciously must redirect that fear and change it by replacing it with thoughts of love, happiness, joy, health, and all those wonderful visions, because in that mindset, the chemistry will actually enhance your vitality. It's the chronic fear chemistry itself that is the cause of the problem. Change your mind, you change the chemistry, and therefore you become empowered to survive and thrive. You are not a victim of your genes. And recently, it is becoming more public. And the recent issue of Discover, DNA is not your identity. Yet every day the media still tells you that genes control this and genes control that. And then people get nervous about what genes are in their family. If you look for the disease, you can create the disease through epigenetics. Right now, it appears that about 95% of cancer is not because of mutant genes, but because of epigenetic control. And it can be passed from parent to child like genes. But the difference is you can change your epigenetics at any time. If you change your perception, you change the reading of your genes. If someone tells you you're going to have a disease and you believe that, then you can create the disease. Okay, conclusion 1, perception, how you see life, the switch, controls behavior because that's protein. Perception controls which genes are being read and how they're being read. And the one I didn't have time for right now is the third one. Perception can rewrite the genetic code. So perception controls life. Since perception controls biology, and since they can be right or wrong, then it's more accurate to say that belief controls biology. What you believe creates your life on the inside and on the outside. So when you look at yourself, you're not a single entity, but you are a community of 50 trillion cells. But it's important to understand the word community. Every cell is intelligent, but when they're in a community, they give up their personal intelligence and respond to the central voice. And in that community, that a cell must follow what the central voice is. And if the central voice says to die, the cells will die. So the central voice is the mind.